Hey folks, it's now time for Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley. This is brought to you by the Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital. How are you today, Dr. Whaley?
I'm great. I'm kind of blue after listening to you talk about those kids that committed that murder, and that boy getting the 25 years, and the other one's liable for life without parole. I think you'll remember several times we've talked here. I was the medical director of the Georgia Narcotic Treatment Program, which was the largest narcotic treatment program in the world from 1969 to 1972. And the drug then was smack. Remember what smack was? What was it? Heroin.
Yeah.
Heroin. And it was big then in the Vietnam vet population, which there's a lot of problem with that, was snorting the drug, and then it could be injected. But if you take this drug fentanyl and compare it to the heroin of the 1960s, it's the difference between a 22 and a 50 caliber. I mean, that's a good analogy for North Georgia. It's just a totally different drug. This fentanyl is the drug of choice as a prescription drug when anesthesiologists and doctors become addicted to prescription drugs because it's such a big hit and such a powerful drug. And then it's made by the ton in China, and then I think shipped in through Mexico. And it's the stuff that was in the vaping things we were talking about, right, that killed the people. So anyway, it's just a terrible thing, and I think if you think about how do 16-year-old kids get in this situation, I mean, and I hate to say that their parents let them have cell phones and let them smoke when they were 12 and didn't discipline them, but that's part of it. My brother, we're talking about, my youngest brother is the head prosecutor for juveniles in Spokane County, Washington, and I think he's got about 60 lawyers in the thing there, and when he has cases like this every day. But you told me that the 3 juveniles that are 16 are going to go to trial.
They're 15. There's 3.
15.
And they're going to trial. They're going to trial as adults.
In his court, they basically probably would never get to trial. They would plead that out some kind of way. I think you told me the judge told those kids they were eyelash away from being eligible for the death penalty, and between now and the time it comes to court, I would imagine that somebody's going to try and figure that carve them out the best deal they can get them, because it's if it's pretty clear they did it, you're better off pleading than you are waiting for a jury to tell you you're going to go away for life. Anyway, it's got nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Well, I understand.
Today.
No, I understand.
It's a sad thing, and I think it needs comment.
I understand that, and I can go on all day about it, other than just the drug aspect. It's something, the drug aspect and really what's happened in our society where that's concerned. We better get to our questions. We have some great questions this morning. We appreciate you sending those to Dr. Whaley. Our first question: what is the best way to prevent prostate cancer? Are there extra health steps or any food supplements that could help prevent this disease?
Now, people ask me sometimes, do you think anybody watches this program? You'll remember in the section at the end where we talk about news of the week, so to speak, last week, I said 1 week ago today, I said last night was reported an article about the drug that people took to grow hair. Remember?
Right.
Proscar, which is called finasteride. That there had been this huge study that showed that drug, which had been thought and known to prevent cases of prostate cancer, might have been responsible for the cases that did occur being more aggressive. Remember that? And then they turned, they weren't aggressive. So show that first headline there. This was the headline that I used last week in the news, right? using finasteride as preventative does not raise the chances of dying from prostate cancer, analysis contends, right? All right, so when we were doing this discussion, that came out of the news last week, not one of the answers to the questions, but the questions that we were asked, remember, last week was on the early detection of lung cancer and other things that cause lung cancer besides the smoking, and I talked about the radon and the working in the mines and the mills over here. So I guess when they listen to that, that's where this question about prevention of prostate cancer came from. Show that next one, because I'm not going to be able to give you any new advice about buying a supplement over the counter, but it's a big number. What does that say? What does that say?
1 out of 5 men in the U.S. will be diagnosed with prostate cancer.
All right. There's 5 of us in here now. There's 1 behind the counter. There are 2 right there, and there are 2 back here selling television sets. And I've got prostate cancer. So maybe none of you guys will get it because I'll be the 1 in 5. But 1 in 5 is a huge number, right? All right. Now, next thing it says is, that's why some people are really interested in prevention of this stuff. Early stages of prostate cancer show no signs or symptoms. All right. There's not anything that'll tell you, like like breast cancer, we talk about you can do breast self-examination. If you wait till it's that big, it's too late and you ought to be doing mammograms. So if you look at what the universal health care recommendations are, it's important for men to be proactive and consider getting screened with a PSA blood test. So here is the question once again. The person who's asking the question is asking for a magic bullet, a pill, a shot or something that would make me lose weight instead of me having to go on a diet and exercise sort of thing, where the real obligation here is, again, on early detection rather than taking something that health food store is likely to sell you. And I think it asked specifically about foods or supplements, so they're talking about the health food industry there, that would benefit them from preventing prostate cancer. So now I'm getting ready to get back up on my soapbox I was on last week before the soapbox derby got here. Let's get up that third, Josh. This, does this look like a broken record here?
Yes, it does.
It does look like a broken record. All right, so when you're talking about prostate cancer prevention, I took this slide right out of a presentation, the American Urological Society public health meeting someplace or other, Las Vegas or something, about cancer prevention. Well, you could use this for just about anything, and it starts at the top with weight. Oh my goodness. And then it goes to diet and then it goes
physical activity.
All right. So now there's the 3 overlapping circles, and let's get this last one out here again, because this is such a good one here. This came out of the exact same presentation. Being physically active decreases the risk of throwing about these cancers, but it's basically, as I've said before, basically all cancers. Much more so, I think, for, you can pull that off, Josh, if you want. Much more so, I think, for probably colon, breast, endometrial, because it has to do there with colon, with transit time, and breast and endometrial with weight. But there are statistical analyses that say that exercise, and this one says aim for, what does it say, 30 minutes a day in any way. At the end of the day, I've said every time, if you take all those things and put them together, it's 5 hours of walking per week at a steady pace. That one right there would be, what, 3 hours or so of running. But at the end of the day, if you want to try and prevent any kind of cancer, prostate cancer or anything else, it is weight reduction, healthy diet, exercise. But one more time, it's detection, early detections. Go back to last week when we were talking about lung cancer. Go back 3 weeks before that when we were talking about risk factors for breast cancer. It's early detection. It's interfacing with Dr. Tidman, who will be here with you next week. Go get your mammogram, go get your PSA or whatever it is. There's not any quick fix. There's no saw palmetto or any of that stuff you see advertised on television that will prevent prostate cancer. Now, there absolutely is evidence that some of these supplements, and again, I don't want you to go buy the ones that come from China, will diminish the chances that you wake up 3 times at night to go to the bathroom. Remember? Because there's a lot of difference between the advertising for prostate obstruction and frequent urination and nighttime urination and cancer prevention. And those things that they talk about in the supplements are generally things that diminish your testosterone level, shrink your prostate a little bit, will get in the way of sexual function, probably get in the way of your energy. But when they're advertising supplements for the sort of treatment of benign prostatic hypertrophy, nighttime urination, and hesitation of urination in the daytime, you can't take the fact that that's probably valid and then go over here and say it's going to help prevent prostate cancer. Does that make sense? In other words, it doesn't do anything about preventing prostate cancer. Does that make sense, BKP?
Yeah.
I didn't confuse you, did I?
A little.
All right. Well, when you get that supplement now, it's going to decrease male libido. It's going to decrease sexual performance because the way it makes you not wake up at night to urinate is it shrinks the prostate, and by doing that, it's interfering with testosterone. Now, you watch the next quarter of the football game, and then the very next ad that they show on the television is the one for that guy that's ripped like this and says if you need to increase your vigor and your get up and go, you need this other supplement to increase your get up and go. So you could have some guy taking the one over here on this side to stop waking up at night to urinate, but his sexual function's not too good, his energy's not too good, so he gets the other supplement to build up. So now he's taken 2 things that he knows are good for him because the TV said so or his wife got it off the internet. You got people on the expert panel who are big on that YouTube and internet stuff. So he's taken 2 things that work against each other. He hadn't got any idea where those ingredients were made. If you'll remember, we talk about that every week. So basically, I'm going to tell you, stay away from the supplements that you buy on television that are supposed to stop you from waking up at night and stop you from having obstruction in the daytime, or the one on the opposite side who's supposed to make you more vigorous and make you stronger, because that one's going to make your prostate big. And if you're having some of these issues, go see Dr. Tidman or your family doc, and then he may come back and put you on the drug that actually stops prostate cancer, because this drug right here, finasteride, you remember what it was marketed for? What was it marketed for? I told you last week. Grow hair.
Right.
And then after they had all those people that they were taking it to grow hair, they discovered that they didn't wake up at night to urinate and they didn't strain in the daytime. So then it started getting marketed for prostatic hypertrophy and growing hair as two separate drugs almost. And then after years of taking it to keep you from waking up at night and from having hesitation, urination in the daytime, they showed that it diminished the chances that you would get prostate cancer. And then people said, oh, well, then you might get worse prostate cancer. And so last week that article came out and says, yes, it prevents prostate cancer, and no, it doesn't make you have worse prostate cancer. And so this all begins, the question begins with this whole series of things we've been doing in the last few weeks. So
all right,
that's how we got where we were. And I know I sound like I'm on my soapbox, and there's no soapbox derby this week, but our regular viewers will know what I mean by the soapbox derby. Okay, go ahead.
Again, we want to thank Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for this segment. And that leads us to our second question. Okay, how can I tell if I just sprained my ankle or if it's something worse? Yesterday I slipped on frosty steps, when coming inside, and I woke up and I can't move my ankle from side to side, but I can point it straight.
All right, well, guys, a non-cancer question here because everybody knows I was a sports medicine doc, so I'm perfectly capable of answering this question. First of all, you probably don't have a fracture. I can tell by the way you wrote the question. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to walk on the thing, and you're talking about pointing it and so forth. So I'm going to give you a quick down and dirty on the most common thing that happens to everybody, and that is they twist their ankle. So Josh, pull up that first picture there. So that first big old picture here is sprain versus strain, and it shows the function and the parts of the ankle that hold the ankle together. All right. Now it's extremely common. There's so many, and I got these pictures from my sports medicine site. But here's what happens all the time. You watch these kids when you watch the football game or the basketball game. You will not see a basketball game on TV. You won't see one over here at Fannin High School or anywhere else where the kid doesn't come down on the ground and then either his ankle turns this way or his ankle turns that way, and he grabs at his ankle. Now, if he's also in the theater club, he might lie down and give you bunches of posturing, but he'll hobble off,
right?
And they'll put somebody else in. And so you watch an NFL game, they'll go right over to the injury tent. The trainer comes up, off comes the shoe, and then put up the next one, Josh. So when the shoe comes off, if you look on the left-hand side of this picture, this is just one of about 10 pictures, you'll see where it says inversion. So that trainer is going to grab that ankle and that foot, and he's going to twist it out to recreate the injury that kid or that NFL player had on the sideline. And depending on how far he can pull it, he's going to make a judgment about whether this ligament that is there has been torn or has been pulled. Pulled is strain, torn is sprain. Now, the ankle has 3 ligaments on it. They're all straight like a triangle. So you can take here, let me just take my shoe. You can take your ankle and do it that way, and it's the middle one. You can take your ankle and do it that way, and it's the back one. So
right.
There's 3 of them. So most commonly, you can't tell if you have a sprain or a strain by what happens to you right at the fall. So let's go to the next one, Josh. What you want to do next is, first thing you're going to do when you have this thing at home, if you can't grab the bone and feel it crunching and don't think it's broken, and you can hobble on it back into the house, is you want to immediately start rice, right? What's the rice? Rest, ice.
Right.
All right. So first thing you're going to do, you can see them right there. They got it elevated. That's the E. They're resting it. That's the ice bag they got on there. They've got a wrap there for compression. So you're going to doctor it yourself for a day or two, unless you're playing for Fannin High School or you've got to get back in the game. And then I could have showed you how to tape this thing, but nobody's going to learn how to tape an ankle at home. The trainers are too good at that. So once you have done this at home for a day or two, you know it's turning purple. You know, when you reach in and you grab the edge of the ankle and you squeeze those 2 bones, it doesn't crunch underneath your hand, then you know that the bones probably are not broken. Then you're going to go over here, just show the braces here. You're going to go over to the drugstore. You're going to buy yourself one of these ankle sleeves, because if you got that wrap, it's going to come undone and it's going to wrinkle up on the bottom of your foot. And you're going to put that thing on there. That's a low compression. It gives you great support. It's good for mild sprains. And so a strain or a sprain is you're going to rest it that way. You're going to walk within the limit of pain. And if this lasts longer than a few days, or if when you grab those bones, they crunch or really the bones hurt, not the meat, then you got to go in and get it X-rayed. Is that good enough?
Yeah, that is.
How'd that go, Josh? You didn't confuse anybody.
No, I follow that. I follow that. We want to thank again Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for our segment. And so that brings us to the time of, well, what's going on out there in the medical?
Fetch your news, huh? You want to fetch the news from the medical thing?
All right.
I want to say thank you to all the people that supported the Totes for Tots last week. We had bad weather on Monday and so forth, but people drug in there over time with a lot of stuff.
Good.
And I had said you can go down to Rose's, you can go over to the Walmart and buy a backpack or something, but I saw a roll-on bag in there that had Louis Vuitton on it, and I don't know whether that was Louis Vuitton bought in China, but it was used. I mean, I think somebody really did do what I said and go down in their basement or somewhere and get the stuff that wasn't being used and brought it over there, and we really appreciate that. This is one of those weeks where food recalls.
Right.
Dozens of them. There's no sense in going in there. We don't have any romaine lettuce or turkey, ground turkey, or pre-Thanksgiving turkey salmonella to talk about this week. So basically, at the end of the day, the news. I hate to do it 2 weeks in a row, but you remember last week I said there is a serious measles epidemic now who can remember where I said it was in? Washington County, Oregon. So you couldn't get any worse than those two northwestern states. And our always has the right answer over there. Mr. Gluckert came up with the Pacific Northwest, and it was Washington County, Oregon. Well, the most advertised measles outbreak this week is located where? Fulton County, Georgia.
Wow.
Now, they have 3 serious cases of in the hospital bad measles in one family that didn't get immunized. So I want to go back and get back on my soapbox. The 3 most important things that have increased the life expectancy in the world are clean water, the invention of antibiotics, and immunization. Smallpox and polio and all that. People don't particularly argue that we don't have smallpox anymore. We don't have polio anymore. When I was working at the Mental Hospital for Children in Aiken, South Carolina in 1963, drawing blood from mentally handicapped children, the 3 most common causes of being in the hospital were birth defects, measles, because measles cause temperature elevations of 105 degrees, and if it lasted more than a couple of days, those children were mentally retarded for life and ended up in mental institutions. And the third was birth defects of German measles. So 2 of those 3 causes were related to immunizations. So I'm back on my soapbox. We've got the flu epidemic. I think that Josh over here was telling me about the Fannin County flu, which I said last week is a flu-like illness that you can't do anything about, and you're going to cough and you're going to be sick for a week, and we have people who've been sick for a month. But go get the doggone flu shot, and all that stuff about measles vaccine and smallpox vaccine and childhood rubella and the rest of those things. Please let your kids get immunized. So that's the medical news this week. Immunizations work, and the hype that they're going to kill you is not worth it.
I appreciate you, Dr. Whaley.
I'm on my soapbox again.
The hype that is going to kill you is not worth it. Folks, if you have a question for the doctor, you can send that to info, I-N-F-O, at fetchernews.com, info at fetchernews.com. Put in the subject line there, Ask the Doc, and send us your question, and we'll get it over to Dr. Whaley. Again, we thank Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for this segment. And if you would like to share this with your family and friends, this segment, you go to our YouTube channel, FYN TV, Fetch Your News YouTube channel. Go on the playlist, Ask the Doc, click playlist, says Ask the Doc. All of them are right there, and you can share these with your friends.
There must be over 100 or something there by now.
There's several. Yeah, 100. Yes, every bit of it. So we thank Dr. Whaley, and we thank Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital. We're going to take a brief break here from Circuit World here in Blue Ridge, and as soon as we return, it'll be time for our all-star political panel. They're all here ready to go. Thank you very much, Dr. Whaley. You have a great week.